Always something wonderful. Thank you, Jack. Well, now I get the privilege of introducing our very own Minister Emeritus. She's retired from the regular ministry, but we keep calling her back because we like her so much. Please welcome Reverend RevCathyCarver.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone in between. With our audience, one never is sure. I would like to thank Jack Nalbandian for playing today and having his wonderful music. And Sunshine,
I'm over here.
Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Well, it's that kind of a day. I got here just before you all did, almost. Sunshine always does a beautiful job, and I appreciate that. And the other realtors in the room, who, the Burtons back there, always welcome us beautifully, especially, oh, there are more realtors too. Oh my God, we're full of realtors. And speaking of realtors, my son Tom is here today. And he had to put down his phone when I said that. Someone said, can you give us some tips because he's rather successful? Put your phone down during the talk. Today's talk is called Your Convictions Make You a Convict. I love this because look at the word convictions. It's hidden right in plain sight. Your convictions make you a convict. A convict is a prisoner. What's a prison? Webster defines it as a state of captivity or confinement. What is a conviction? Well, it's several things. It's a firmly held belief or opinion programmed into a child's subconscious mind from conception to age 7. Notice beliefs are not facts, they're just beliefs. Also, a conviction is something a judge gives you when you're sentenced. So think of these words. Now, who is the convict? You are. Who is the warden? You are. What? How can that be? Oh my God, that can't be. Because your limiting convictions make you a convict. This term is always spoken as a sentence pronounced by a judge. All right, look at that, the sentence. They're words pronounced by a judge, and you get a what? A prison term. Parole is the French word for word. Right in front of our eyes, we are given so many clues that are too obvious for us to see. But the sentence wasn't really pronounced by a judge. It consists of every sentence pronounced by your parents, your priests, ministers, teachers, rabbis, friends, relatives, when you were age 0 to 7. Then you reinforced all this by the sentences you speak. You pronounce them on yourself. Have you ever said, I'm so sick? No, of course not. Not a person in here nodded. Not one. Have you ever said, oh, I'm too old to learn that or do that? Oh, computers are beyond me. Oh, no. You've never said that either? Neither. You pronounce these sentences on yourself. And unknowingly, guess who you are? See that guy? You are the judge. I wish I could remember, wasn't there a joke about you be the judge from something?
Here comes the judge.
Well, I can't remember it, sorry. You have the power. A prison term always begins in the subconscious mind and exits the mouth. Now, what prison do you live in? An unhappy marriage? A job you hate? Not enough money? Sickness? What prison can you think of that you might live in?
Okay.
Not enough.
Money?
Not enough, yeah.
Limitations.
She says limitations.
Limitations, absolutely. So, there are probably as many prisons as there are people here in this audience, including the audience watching on YouTube later, forever and ever. That's how many prisons there are. If you're not completely happy, healthy, off your cell phone, and free to be and do as you wish, you have sentenced yourself to prison with your own convictions. But much worse, the convictions of others. The people who dictated, another word, what is a dictator? It's a speaker, the power of words again. Whatever was dictated to your original programs, they're the ones still condemning you to prison. Now, I have some personal examples. Sorry. Years ago, I was imprisoned in a very unhappy marriage. And I believed, because my religion said it was so, that once I married, only death could do us part. And when you believe that death is the only escape, you soon find yourself wishing you were dead. I know you've never had that experience in an unhappy marriage. Everyone here has only been married once and very happily. What was the real prison in this case? Was it the institution of marriage? No, because many people obtain divorces all over the world without anyone dying. It wasn't matrimony that made me a prisoner. It was my belief that death was the only escape. My conviction was the prison that locked me into a marriage. And where did this conviction come from? Father Lorden, he was my priest from 0 to 7. And of course my parents and anyone else of my relatives who also had the same same wonderful beliefs. Their beliefs programmed my convictions. And they sentenced me to prison unknowingly for life. Another prison I served time in was a job I despised. Ever had a job you hated?
One or two.
I spent 40 hours a week, 2,000 hours a year, serving an 8-year sentence in a job I hated. You remember that one? Did anyone point a gun at my head? Nope. Did anybody force me to work there? Nope, I did it because I believed it was the only way I could support my 2 children and earn enough money. Again, my conviction made me a convict. My belief was the gun I held to my own head And it was held to me by my head because I believed those limiting convictions. Is there any way out of these prisons since we don't know we're in them usually? Yes. But first you must recognize that you are in a prison. Then you have to realize that your convictions are the things that are keeping you there. Then you must identify the programs that are sentencing you to any of these experiences. Then you need to replace them with new programs that serve you. But how? Now, there are several answers. In the 60s, a chiropractor named John Goodhart, I love that name. Here's a man with a good heart that just happens to discover this. He rediscovers acupuncture, the Chinese traditional medicine, and that system, and he begins to realize that it has the answers. And in the 1900s, Freud, who of course concentrated so much on sex we forget he did anything else. I understand in the movie he really concentrated on sex too. But what he did is he discovered there were basically two minds, the conscious and the subconscious mind. I hate to say goodbye to the judge.
There goes the judge.
There's the conscious mind. There we go again. It's concerned with the outer world. The 5 sentences. Don't you love that? Taste, hearing, sight, smell, touch. Outer effects. And it has 5% of the total power of the mind. Just 5% of the time that we're conscious of anything. So it decides things based on things that are visible. The effects, the outer world. It thinks the thoughts we know we're thinking. Now, the subconscious mind. The one whose actions we're not aware of. This enormously powerful mind runs the world of cause. But this also means we're unconscious 95% of the time. And it gets worse. The subconscious mind is like a tape recorder. Now, look at the upper picture. Who do you think programmed our tape recorders from 0 to 7? Does that give you a clue? Who were the dictators? Now, this mind has a big job. It's supposed to protect us. That's why we're programmed like we're in a hypnagogic state from 0 to 7. That means like you're like a tape lying there helpless. Anything that's said goes on you. You don't have a filter saying, "That's wrong, you idiot." You know, you're totally subject to whatever anybody says. So how can we change what we don't know? We have to become conscious, as Jung said, that there's a problem, that there's a solution, and that we can do something about it. You don't realize how powerful the subconscious mind is. It runs the entire body's electrical system that carries information to every single organ, nerve, and everything else in your body. Neuroscientists claim that we make 95% of our decisions subconsciously. Can you think that? What job shall I take? Who shall I marry? Listening to my tape recorder without knowing it. Isn't that scary? Ooh. I can certainly say that a lot of my early decisions were certainly made by someone rather ignorant. And this mind works 24 hours a day, year after year, without our having to do anything about it. Do you say your body, heart beat, lungs breathe, stomach digest harder? Nothing. The subconscious controls things you aren't aware of, things you're not thinking about, and things you wouldn't know how to do if you were thinking about them. Now, how can we access the subconscious mind, the one that plays back the tapes that control us? Now, remember our Dr. Goodhart. Well, he finally realized that the subconscious could be reached by vibration and sound. He found that the subconscious hears every single word that's ever said. What a scary thought when you think of some of the things we say to ourselves. Not to mention what we might say about someone who's not listening. So he devised a way to change beliefs. It's called EFT, or tapping. And I really wanted to do a tapping session today. I hated to delete all that information, but I realized, but I counted the words, it would just keep you here too long. So I'm really going to have to just tell you that he found that there are tapping points. And here they are. I like to remember this, what I do remember to tap, which isn't often enough. See the 5 senses? Well, the head has 5 tapping points. It has, you start off with the inner eye, outer eye, under nose, under lip, under chin. That's 5. Did I count right? And then the collarbone, under the arm. Now this part makes you look like a monkey, you know, and the last one's here. I did that in my car the other day, and I saw somebody looking at me like, It's a good thing to do at a red light if you're not too embarrassed that people may watch and see you. And then the karate chop point. Now think how powerful a karate chop is. You know, think of the Chinese going clunk, and they could actually break, I don't know, it's not concrete, I guess it's wood. Is it wood or concrete? Wood. Okay, they can actually take a whole block and break it with one chop. So he uses that to access the subconscious mind. He starts there, and he tells the problem. Now, I was going to get into this in great detail, and I really wanted to. However, Google it. Look up tapping, the word tapping, just look up tapping, and there's a guy named Brad Yates. I like him because first, he's free. Secondly, he speaks slowly so I can understand what he's saying. And he has it on all kinds of things, whether it's fear of being alone, fear of traveling, fear of heights, any fear, anything that you have, he's got a tapping session for. Now, neuroscientists say that one of the worst programs we all have is the feeling that we're unworthy. And that's really, I think, true of all of us. Now, subconsciously, remember, you may sit here and think, I'm the worthiest person in the world, which is unlikely, but you may feel that way. Or you may feel, well, I'm okay. But the truth of this, down underneath is this little child going in there saying, I don't think I'm worthy of anything. I'm a bad child. My mom said so. You know, so just know that you may not know that within you is a little child saying, I'm not worthy. And you need to tell that child how worthy it is by using those tapping points and telling it it's worthy. PowerPoint 7. Your convictions make you a convict. I like that picture. You see the guy in there holding the bars? That's us in our own heads. Tear down your mental bars one at a time. Take each limiting belief you have that traps you and remove it. But I like this part. Recently, I just heard on YouTube, YouTube is a tremendous benefit if you watch it, that Every 26,000 years, the Earth's axis shifts, and it's called the precession of the equinox. How many of you know that we're in a shift?
No. We should be, with all the changes that are going on.
Well, there is a big shift going on, literally. What happens is the Earth actually rotates on its axis. You know, I wish I could hold my head here. It kind of can go like that or like this, you know. And it changes the way we go through the universe. And it changes our access to energy. And we're now entering an area that we've entered it in 2012. Remember the Mayan thing in 2012? And we all expected something dramatic to happen. Well, it did, but we didn't know it. We shifted into this new area and turned. And what happens when you get there is there's more light, higher vibration, a higher dimension. And this gives us a less dense energy and a greater access to consciousness. You're taking my picture, I hope. Now, there is a way to change the subconscious mind even more. In case you don't know that, my son is in the audience and he tends to work a little too much for on his phone.
He's doing a pretty good job.
About 30 years ago, though, I've got to tell a story here. I don't usually tell personal stories because they can be very boring. Not mine. But this one I actually experienced myself, and I really think it will be helpful to share it. Doctors diagnosed me with cancer, and it had metastasized and eaten all the lymph nodes, all through my sternum, chest, whatever. And they gave me 6 months to live. I gotta tell you, it's the second worst time in my life, or maybe the third. I felt like I had fallen into a chasm, you know, with high rocks on all sides and water pounding me this way and that way. Because I had just gotten married and I was really happy and finally, and didn't really want to die. I wasn't ready. And so I had recently stopped smoking. This is many years ago. I suddenly realized that I'd been saying, if I only had 6 months to live, I'd start smoking again. All of a sudden it hit me. I'd been saying that. And I had just finished reading some book about the subconscious having no sense of humor. And it doesn't. Hey, please realize this, because I'll tell another quick story if I remember by the time I get there. The subconscious takes everything you say literally. And so I said to the subconscious, I was kidding. That was a joke. And if you don't think I had plenty of emotion behind those remarks, you're wrong. I was like frantic. All of a sudden I realized I'd been killing myself. And so I talked to my subconscious mind. I said, no, I don't want to die. You know, I'm happy. Stop it. I was kidding. That was a joke, damn it. You know, so I talked to it and talked to it. Well, the doctor's dead, but I'm still here. Bless you, doctor. Now, I didn't realize what I had discovered, unfortunately, because, of course, I forgot about it right after I found out I was going to live. In fact, I'm not sure how I remember how I found out I was going to live. I guess I just kept living beyond 6 months and figured something was wrong. Or right. But recently I heard some information on YouTube. saying that, remember the junk DNA they talk about?
No.
Well, it's not junk, it's quantum, so that it's not measurable by our limited three-dimensional instruments. So it's there, and it's actually listening. It's the one that's listening that controls everything. And we can talk to it. It's like the subconscious mind, the same thing. We have the power to say anything we want to that. And here's why I digress for a moment. I did a wedding last Sunday for a dear friend. And I was talking to her son, and I said, oh, I can't find my glasses. And he said, oh, don't worry about it, I'm blind. I have some glasses. I said, oh my God, don't say I'm blind. And I gave a mini sermon, I'm afraid. But everything you say, you can command your subconscious. So start talking to yourself. Not the usual way where you say, I don't know how to do that, you know, and complain like we usually do. Talk like it's standing there saluting you, saying, what are your orders for the day? And tell it what you want it to do. The first thing it suggested we say is, and I love this, delete all my karma. Because we have moved into this higher energy shift, this new area where everything is lighter, there's more light, more consciousness. We have access to do things that we've never been able to do in all the existence of humanity. So start doing that. Delete, I'm saying it right now. DNA, delete any negative karma that I may have accumulated. Of course, unlikely that I could have. In all my past lives. Anytime, any place, or timeless, spaceless places. And yet you know how stupid we've been. I hate to say that. But 2,000 years ago, Jesus said, pray believing ye have received, and ye shall receive. He said, be it done unto you according to your faith. And today, quantum physics is proving exactly what he said. Because whatever you believe, true, false, right, wrong, is exactly what is done unto you. Jesus also said, these are his words, ye are gods, all of ye. And when the Bible opens in the very beginning, it says, in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was God. And the Word became flesh. You've heard that? Our words do become materialized, visible forms. Quantum physics has now proved that the words Jesus spoke were the laws of quantum physics. If only we, the world, had believed anything he said or did, by now we might have conquered death too. Consciousness is king. Our convictions make us convicts. Speak your own powerful words. Delete the old beliefs. I love this line. This should be the big line. In fact, is there another line here? We are the gods we have been looking for outside. Just as God created the universe, when he said, let there be light, we, made in God's image, speak our words and create our universes, our personal ones. That was my final words. And Jesus spoke them, and he sure knew what he was talking about. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free, but only when you know it. And now you have no excuse. Go home and talk to yourself and say, I am complete, I am love, I am whole, I am young, unless you're a baby, I'm strong, I'm wise, I'm creative. It is finished.
Another exciting trip through science and religion and spirituality. It's always so wonderful to have you speak with us, Kathy.
Thank you.